Hey, it's Jeffrey Howard from Mastermind Mentor International. Thank you for being here for Finish Strong Friday, hashtag FSF. We're going to get started here in just a minute. But before we do, please click the like button, click the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, and you might want to hit that notifications button, that little bell that's going to give you an update every time we upload a new video so that you can stay up to date with what we do here. Finish Strong Friday is all about mindset. 90% of your success or failure falls right here between your ears, right? So we're giving you strategies, not just a positive thinking, which is all great, not just powerful tools and affirmations, which are all great, but actual tools for productivity, for mindset strategy, and things that you can do to stay on track and stay focused and stay motivated as an entrepreneur. So we're going to get started right now in exactly 7 seconds. Here we go.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And
fire.
boom, we are live, and actually live on Facebook this week. That's awesome. Welcome to Finish Strong Friday, hashtag FSF. So glad you're here. So glad you could join us. Finish Strong Friday is our favorite training that we do, and we're happy to be here. My name is Jeffrey Howard, and we do these trainings every single Friday. For those of you who may not know or may be watching the recording, the purpose of our training here is that we focus on mindset strategy, things that are going to improve you from the top down and the inside out. And today we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to our heart. We're going to talk about 10 reasons why reading every day is going to move you forward faster in your entrepreneurial adventure. And we'll define reading in a couple of different ways. And then we're also going to share something fun. We came in, we don't know what each other is going to talk about, but we're going to talk to you about our, arguably our top 10 favorite books. And so, yeah, again, Jeffrey Howard here. You can call me Jeff. My friends do. I'm a peak performance coach and overall serial entrepreneur. Just my focus is on everything, all things peak performance, biohacking, everything from marketing to branding to everything for you to raise your bar up. That's what we do. Eric, talk about you for a minute. Let's get this show on the road.
Hey everyone, Eric here. Yeah, I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I've owned my own businesses for the last 25 years. Done a lot of coaching, a lot of working with people to get the most out of what they do. I'll tell you one of my strengths and it's a strength and it's also a weakness, is that I love the rags to riches, the underdog. That story, that's kind of the way I've always pictured myself. I get very emotional whenever I see like some kind of an underdog, against all odds, kind of that breaks through and does great big things. And I think I get emotional about those things because I relate to that story. And I say it's a weakness because I think I relate to it in such a strong way when I get to a certain level of success, or what I've done over and over in my life, is that I tend to, my self-image is that I'm the underdog, and I kind of I subconsciously sabotage and kind of go back to that less than role. And then build it back up again. But it's something I'm becoming aware of now, and that I'm breaking through right now as we speak. So it's great stuff. So
that's awesome. Well, we're all big fans of the underdog. Look, everybody started someplace small. Everybody that's famous started somewhere where you didn't know them at all. Every single overnight success that you're aware of, had this iceberg of underneath the water that they had to spend, years, decades, sometimes an entire lifetime to develop. And just know, your opportunity too is just around the corner. All you have to do is stay focused. You have to continue to raise the bar for yourself. You have to continue to, really, I think, circle yourself around people who have a great level of knowledge, experience other people's knowledge, other people's experiences. You're going to find that most of the people that you even admire or look to as mentors in business or in life, they have a story that, isn't pretty. And I think those are the things that really keep us going. Like if you can keep your mindset straight through that process, if you can keep your mindset straight through the inevitable changes, the inevitable pains, the inevitable challenges that come up in life, that makes you not only stronger, but smarter. you get faster at maneuvering when things change. If you just go into the whole process knowing that things are going to change, and sometimes they're going to change really, really quickly, then you don't get freaked out by change as much either. So that's not really our topic today, but it fits really perfectly in with what we're going to talk about. We're going back to over 2 years that we've been doing Finish Strong Friday now. And, it's been a fun ride, and we've really enjoyed it, and we still really enjoy it. This is, like I said, this is our favorite thing to do during the week. It's a great way to end the week. It's a great way to, help us to stay motivated. We tend to teach a lot of the things that we most need to learn or most want to, be connected with. And it all started out actually as a, kind of a book of the week club. In a sense, we talked about, we would be reading a book. We're constantly reading, and we'd come on and we talk about that book, and we talk about the things that we gain from it. So we thought it would be fun today to just real quickly go over some of the major benefits of reading. And when I say reading, I want to define that really clearly. Like reading, it's great to take a book off a shelf and hold it in your hands, but that's not the whole universe of reading these days. Whether it's on a Kindle device, or, our favorite is Audible, because it is one of the few things that allows you to actually, time manage and actually multitask at the same time. You can listen to a book while you're hiking like I do, or like, when you're working out, or when you're doing the laundry or doing the dishes or whatever it is. So, absolutely, Audible is, in my opinion, the most efficient way to consume books. And you can also carry, about as many of them as you want right here on this little device, which is phenomenal. I've actually just released my first Audible book here just a couple of weeks ago. We'll talk about that later, but let's get into, first of all, I want to give you, there's numerous benefits to reading every single day, but let's talk about 10 that really directly relate to your journey as an entrepreneur. So, the very first one is mental stimulation. If you want to be in a creative space where you're constantly raising the bar, and you're constantly, trying to do better for your business, figure out new ways, better ways to profit, to basically change the world in whatever way you do that, then, being able to, stay mentally stimulated is one of the main things you need to do. So number one on this list is mental stimulation. We're not going to go into a ton of detail about each one of these things, because we want to get to the fun part, which is talking about the books. But, look, there are studies that show that staying mentally stimulated can slow the progress for Alzheimer's and dementia, which is a really, really big thing that, is happening in our society, that it seems to be sort of the last 2 generations. It's just really exacerbated for some reason. Anne's on the line today, and we were actually just talking about this yesterday. So it keeps your brain active. It keeps you engaged. It prevents your brain from losing the juice, losing the power.
So second thing, I'm just going to jump in here, Jeff. We'll just cover these quickly. So second thing is stress reduction, right? So, if you've got stress in your life, it's, to get into a book, to get yourself out of your current circumstances and mentally into a different environment. If you're really in a stressful situation, if you just stay in that all the time, your mind kind of you start to feel like there's no options. You start to feel like there's no hope, that there's no solutions to what your issues are. And by reading, it's just gonna reduce the stress. I mean, it's just gonna allow you to escape from that environment for a period of time, either through actually reading the words. I think there's a lot of value to actually reading the words. It uses different muscles in your brain to read than to actually listen. So I think Audible's great, and I use Audible all the time, but I also try to pick up an actual book and read it from time to time. Not probably as often, but for sure to do that as well.
Yeah, I always have 3 or 4 books sitting on my nightstand as well, because it's a great way to just kind of lull your way into sleep, for one. And also, one of the best things that you can do is put good stuff into your head right before you go to bed, because your brain starts to process that and come up with new and creative ideas. I just noticed Anne's comment. She said, Audible Junkie here, best thing for dyslexics. I'd never, ever thought about that before, because it's one of those things that's off my radar. That's not a problem that I have. But yeah, that's amazing. I never really put it in that perspective before. The third thing on our list of 10 really strong benefits is kind of the obvious elephant in the room, and that's knowledge. I mean, everything that you do, everything you read, it fills your head with new information. You never know when when that information might come in handy, and some of it is immediately applicable. Like one of the things we always talk about on Finish Strong Friday is we want to bring you things that are immediately applicable, something that you can implement literally either, sometimes right here in the training and certainly right after the training if you choose to do that. So the more knowledge that you have, the better equipped you're going to be to basically handle whatever situation or challenge or change comes up in your life.
So the fourth thing is vocabulary expansion. So, the more you read if I don't know a word, I like to look up that word and figure out what that word is all about. Especially, there's a lot of words that we use every day, and a lot of times you don't know exactly what the meaning of those words. And one of my books that I'm going to go into today, in that book, he talks in depth about looking up and understanding clearly what the meaning of words are and being intentional with the words that you're using. So if you can expand your vocabulary, that's the bottom line is you just, expand your mind, right?
Yeah. So, we focus a lot, we talk about mindset, but we actually focus a lot on these trainings about what's actually happening in your brain. I'm like a total geek when it comes to the brain stuff, brain science and how to improve it and how to improve performance on every level. And there's a physiological aspect to that. And then there's sort of a mental aspect, emotional aspect, and everything else. So, one of the things that reading does also, reading on a daily basis, it improves your memory. When you read a book, you have to remember, depending on what you're reading, you have to remember assortment of characters or the stories or the backgrounds or the ambitions or the history. Eric talked about the underdog story, that's typically a part of a lot of personal development type books, especially because if it's about the author or if it's relating to the author's story, there's always this, not necessarily rags to riches. That's probably not the best way to put it, but the overcoming and overcoming adversity and then achieving their dreams through overcoming that adversity. So, when you have to keep track of that stuff in a book, it may be fairly easy to remember, but our brains, are marvelous things. Like you can draw on information like down the road. You don't even know where you got it. Don't you have that happen like on a regular basis where you're cruising along and all of a sudden something just comes into your mind and you go, wow, how do I even know that? And you can't track back on it, but everything you experience, everything you absorb, everything you read, hear, it all gets filed away someplace. And it's just amazing to me, the level of memory improvement that takes place just from reading or listening to books.
Absolutely. The sixth thing is stronger analytical thinking skills. So being able to, like if you're reading a mystery novel and as you're reading that mystery novel, you're kind of thinking through it and trying to like solve what's happening in that novel, solve the mystery, right? In your mind as you're kind of thinking through it and you're analyzing, and that just helps you when you come across problems later on in life, in business and in life and whatever, you can analytically look at those things and it's just going to give you more skills to actually, solve those problems, have a better analytical, side of your brain as far as, thinking of what's happening in your life.
And analytical thinking skills, that's, at least in my opinion, that's probably in the top 2 or 3 things that you need to be constantly polishing, honing, and sharpening as an entrepreneur. Because let's face it, the journey of an entrepreneur is really just, it comes down to a series of problem solving, right? It's exactly about solving a problem. The whole beginning of that journey is an idea that solves somebody's problem and taking that idea out to market, and then solving a problem to take that to the next step, and solving a problem to expand that, and solving a problem to scale that. So yeah, I mean, that is, maybe even the number one thing that is. Yeah.
And you're always going to be solving problems, and the bigger you get, the bigger the problems are. And
exactly.
That's really at the end of the day, it's not, life doesn't get easier. You get better, that's really, and that's what your goal should be. Don't have a goal of an easy life. Have a goal of being the kind of person who can handle big problems and solve them quickly and move through them, because that's life. I mean, that's like you want big problems. That's the bottom line,
Yep. Yeah, you want big problems because that teaches your brain how to solve a bigger problem. And until you do, you can't expand. Number 7 is improved focus and concentration. Kind of falls into the same general category, but focus is a big deal right now. And I mean, we're fully immersed in lack of focus right now as a society. Our internet crazed world, our attentions are pulled every different direction. We've talked about this in different contexts over the last few weeks, actually. There's a million different directions, a million different things going on, different screens to look at, different things popping up. You go to read an article online and then you got ad here, flash there, all this stuff that's just like, it's like being at a carnival. And, like in a single 5-second span, the average person is going to divide their time between working on a task, checking an email, chatting with a couple of people, answering, looking on Facebook to see who's liked your post, whatever. It's constant attention deficit, I guess, like it's perpetual ADD. But when you read a book, even when you're listening to a book, a little bit less when you're listening, but when you're reading a book, all of your attention's focused on what you're reading. The rest of the world just kind of falls away. It refers back to what Eric was just talking about for de-stressing too. If you're focused on reading, you can't think about the problem that you're trying to de-stress yourself from. So, if you try reading, for example, 15, 20 minutes before you have to go to work or listening to something on your commute, you'd be surprised at how much more focused you're going to be once you get there.
Yeah. So the 8th thing is better writing skills. So that goes hand in hand with expanding your vocabulary, right? A better vocabulary is going to give you better writing skills, but being well read is going to help you to be well written if that's one of your goals. And actually at the end of the day, if we're in a marketing business, you're going to have to learn how to write some copy, and you're going to have to learn how to, and the better you are at writing, at your writing skills, and Jeff is arguably, way better at this than I am. And, and also, like his musical influence, he's used to, on a daily basis, thinking about writing words, for music and things like that as well. So that helps as well. But the more you read, the better your writing skills are going to be.
Yeah, 100%. And then this is one that, again, there's like a common thread to a lot of the things that we talk about. But number 9 is tranquility. We talk about peace, inner peace, meditation, just like getting yourself centered and getting your brain grounded. Well, in addition to just the relaxation that accompanies reading a good book, it's also possible that the subject that you're reading about can bring you immense inner peace and tranquility. And it comes in different ways. I mean, you don't have to be reading something spiritual. Or something that's designed to do that. You could read something that all of a sudden you have a big aha moment about a problem that you've been trying to solve. We keep going back to, overcoming challenges, overcoming problems. You all of a sudden get to a place in a book, in a nonfiction book, say, for example, that all of a sudden you go, wow, I could apply that to solve this problem that's been bothering me. And all of a sudden your stress levels go down. You're in a more peaceful place. You're in a more tranquil place. Easy for me to say.
Yeah. And the 10th thing is that it's free entertainment, right? It's not, you've got books all around you. You can pick up a book. It can transport you to a different world, be it a fiction book or nonfiction book, and can completely, it's entertainment that can completely change your life, really. And I don't know of any other, like most movies, you watch the movie, you leave the movie, you think about it a time or two later, and that's it. Whereas a book, it's free, entertainment, for the most part. Audible costs a little bit, compared to everything else, it's nothing. And the great part about books is you can reread the same book and you have a completely different experience each time that you read the book, each time you listen to an Audible. Depending on where your state of mind is, you're going to pick up different things, and depend on where you're at in life. I think your experience with that piece of literature completely changes depending on where your mindset is at the time.
Yeah, 100%. And, there are very few books that I've read more than once. And that's kind of one of the criteria that I used to pick what books I was going to come up with here today for this topic. But what I've found is that when I do read things more than once, or when I read it and then listen to it, I get something completely different out of it. You know, your life has changed, your problems have evolved. And so different things are relevant to you in that book. So, you know, one of the suggestions that I would make is that if you have something that does move you, go back to it, you know, 6 months later, a year later. There's one book in particular that I, you know, have gone back to on a regular basis. I'm going to save it for later on in the list, but let's get into this top 10 list. And look, guys, you know, whether you're on the Facebook group live or whether you're here on the live webinar, you know, chime in too and let us know, you know, what are your favorite books? Like what has been very meaningful to you? And I'm going to go ahead and you want to start, Eric?
Sure, I can start. You know, I'm going to, and so we each put together theoretically a list of 5. I actually put a few extra on there because I got a feeling that you and I are going to overlap on a few of these.
Yeah.
So, but I will start with, just like Jeff said, I look back at all the books I've got on this list. I've read and reread everything that's on this list. So I'm going to start with one that kind of, that I started reading in a spot where I needed something to happen. And it's the thing that got me fired up and excited to get back on my feet, to start swinging again and make things happen in my life. And that is the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, which is a really, really, really simple concept. It's a very simple concept, can be explained in a couple sentences, but the book itself, this is the book I was talking about where Grant goes through and he talks about specific words and looking up the definition of words and making sure that the words that he was using the definition is accurate of what he thought it was, and then and actually reading and rereading the definition of those words as he's using those things. But the concept of the 10X rule is basically, you know, if you want to hit meaningful goals, you should take what your goal is and 10X that goal. And then, so if your goal is, let's say your goal is to make them, you know, $100,000 a year, let's shoot for a goal that is $1 million a year instead. And then when you think of what you think you're going to need to do as far as effort to hit that goal, 10X that what that effort is that you think you're going to need. And then like 10X everything possible in your life that you can to be able to virtually guarantee getting a good result or getting the result that you're looking for, you know, around that. So, and it's a book that Grant Cardone wrote for himself when he was at the lowest point of his life. He wrote this book and he told himself, this is what I'm going to do to dig myself out of this. He was in a point where he had a bad business partnership and he lost everything. He didn't have anything. This was not that many years ago. I think this was like 7 or 8 years ago. If you look at Grant Cardone and what he's worth and what he's doing now, he wrote 10X Rule and he said, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to implement everything, every word in the book and change my life. And he did. So
absolutely he did. I mean, times 10, honestly. Yeah, that was a great one. I sort of had that on my short list, but I had a feeling that was going to be one of the ones you pulled up. So I dropped it to the maybe list. So, all right, well, I'm going to start actually with one. I'm going to start with a fun one. I am going to choose "You Are a Badass" by Jen Sincero.
Really? All right. That did not make my list, but go ahead. Yeah, I love that.
I've had a chance to actually meet her. I've had a chance to, I've listened to I think she's got 3 books out now, and maybe she even has 4, but I've heard her speak now. The thing about her is I listened to her on Audible. She narrated her own book. Her story in her own words was really, really effective. And it just kind of really inspired me that, you know, it doesn't really matter what your past has been. It doesn't matter how many times you've tripped over yourself. The only reason that you're not out crushing it in the world is because of what's going on right here. 90% of success or failure is right between your ears, right? She didn't say that. That's our thing. But bottom line is that, it just was a perfect fit for me at a perfect time as well. You may not consider yourself to be in a category of things where you have to be a badass, but I kind of do, like between the music thing and my history of music and things I'm going to do in music and, trying to, really expand massively on business and brand. That's just kind of the role that I want to take on. It's just being that badass, and you can do that subtly, but I love that book. I loved all of her books. I really love her overall vibe.
You're a badass at making money, right?
That's the second one. So it's just, you are a badass, and there's some subtitle to it. I can pull it up if you want.
I love it. All right. So the next one, I feel like I'm going to do a bunch of that I know that you probably have also. Hopefully that's okay.
That's okay. I got backup plans.
So
I got a longer list than 5.
The Compound Effect is a book that I absolutely love. It's a book that actually Jeff turned me on to, but I'd have been aware of Darren Hardy for a long time, and the Compound Effect is basically, the Compound Effect is, I would classify it as a rule that's in effect at all times, in all situations, in nature and in life, in your life. Like, what you do matters, and what you don't do matters also, because things compound on each other. So, and it's all about being, being consistent, realizing that small, you don't have to do it all in a day. You don't have to do it all in a week. You don't have to do it all in a month. If you're just consistent and you keep at it, you're going to succeed. And that's where that gives you hope, where if you feel like I'm not as talented as everybody else. And that's how Darren Hardy felt, that he was not as talented as everybody else, but he knew he wasn't going to quit. He knew he was going to keep at it day after day after day after day. And that has a compounding effect, and you can achieve great things over time. And when I say you don't do, and by you not doing something, that has a compounding effect also in the opposite direction. So it's understanding that in life, and just making sure what you're doing on a daily basis is moving you to the right direction.
Yeah, you were right. That was right up high on my list. That was one I was saving for later. So, but yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite books. I've definitely listened to and or read that book, I don't know, 5 or 6 times at least. And it's real simple. It's real short. It's really to the point, and it just really lands when you listen to it. And I've found that to be the case. Everybody that I've referred to it has told me the same thing. And everybody that I know that's read it that had nothing to do with me has said the same thing. It's basically, it comes down to, it's not the big sweeping changes that you make in your life that make all the difference. It's the little things that you do consistently every single day. And yeah, that's amazing. Darren Hardy is, I have another one, maybe I'll use as a backup depending on where we go here.
I have another one also.
Uh-oh. Well,
go ahead.
All right. Well, then the next one I'm going to put on the list here. Where are we at? That was 3. This is number 4. I'm going to say the 5-second rule. Mel Robbins is relatively new on the scene. Basically, the last couple of years, she's really made a big mark in the world. And I think that what I really love so much about the 5-second rule and what moved me so much about it is how freaking pathetic she was being until she just figured out this really simple little thing. It would be great for you to read the book and know the story and what the backstory is. But in essence, it's really just a simple little tool that she realized as she was waking up from a hungover stupor in the morning and happened to have the TV still on, and there was a NASA launch going on. And it was like this countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2. Wait, that's really familiar. Don't we do that at the beginning of Finish Strong Friday? Anyway, that wasn't intentional, probably subliminally intentional. But anyway, yeah, this whole concept of, it overcoming procrastination, because that is one of the singular biggest downfalls of really accomplishing anything in life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is saying you're going to do it and then not doing it, and then beating yourself up for not doing it, and then getting into this ridiculous cyclical pattern about it. So in very simple terms, it's okay. It's time to get up. Great. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Launch yourself out of bed and just do it. And there's something about the countdown versus counting to 5 that just psychologically makes it work better. So awesome book, Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule.
I love it. It's interesting to see how many of these books so far that are just a very simple concept, a simple concept, a simple idea. But it's important to read the books though, and understand the stories behind them, and to understand exactly, what, and Mel Robbins is phenomenal. She's awesome. The audio book is hilarious. She's
funny.
Good.
Yeah. She's really funny.
Yeah. So that always makes it a lot more fun. And Gwen is,
Jen
Sincero. Sorry. God, jeez.
It's all good.
Concussions kicking in. She's awesome. She's really funny too. All right. I'm going to go way back. And go to like the original book. I think the very first ever, it was either this book or one other book. That's the first ever kind of motivational book that I ever read. And that is Think and Grow Rich. Sorry, man.
I'm gonna have to pull my backups on my backups here. All right.
I have that right here.
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It was written in the
30s.
30s.
It was written over the course of 20 years, and it was first published in the 30s.
Yeah, it's a very, very simple book, but it was so revolutionary, when it was written, and it was basically, Napoleon Hill had kind of studied very closely some people that were just like literally, it'd be like if you got a chance to hang around, Elon Musk all the time, or Zuckerberg, like on a continual basis today, that would be the equivalent of the people that he was, following to write that book. And just the concept of you can actually create the life of your choosing, and you have a ability to do that. And that whole concept was kind of released. I think it was released before that, and we're going to cover that here a little bit later. But anyways, it just a phenomenal book, a classic.
Absolutely. And, we've talked about this book regularly. We never really got into the book as an analysis before. Most everybody's read it. If you haven't read it, if you're in business of any kind and you haven't read this book, just drop whatever else you're reading or listening to and go to that, because this to me is the fundamental concepts of success in not just in business, but really in life. And it's, it really it was almost like the first little glimpse, not the first, I'll get into what I think was the very first, but the first really glimpse of how to mechanically manipulate the universe to do your bidding for you, kind of like law of attraction in a sense. He doesn't ever say that specifically, but he really kind of alludes to it. it's not just this mechanical business thing. It's all about like how everything really works. And if you understand what the rules are and you do those things, then it's inevitable for you to have success. So yeah, one of my favorites. A friend of my dad's gave me that book when I was a junior in high school. It changed my trajectory for life from the age of 17. So that's a huge one. Wow, here comes Margarita with her list. Okay, awesome. I'm sure we'll have a little crossover there too. All right, I've got to kind of pull out some. You know what? I'm going to pick one that I don't think will be on your list. Influence by Robert Cialdini.
What is it?
Influence.
Yeah.
Influence by Cialdini. So Robert this is, what is the subtitle? It's like Psychology of Persuasion or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So Cialdini's got several books, and every major marketer that you've probably ever heard of, and a whole bunch that you haven't, have been influenced by this book in terms of both, copywriting, web copy, how they structure their videos, how to deliver a message in any kind of a sales environment, not to persuade people in a manipulative way, but to understand how people function, like how they actually work, how they respond to different things, and how you can sort of preset the thinking about at least considering whatever it is that you're offering. It's fascinating stuff. It's a little sort of heady, but when you get through it, it's like, wow, this stuff really, really makes sense. And we're actually all doing this all the time in some way or another. And if you can be doing it consciously, then you can have a much higher level of success.
Love it. That's a great book. That's a great book. I love it. I'm sorry. I'm going to do one here that's, I know is off your list. I believe it should be off your list.
You don't have to worry about if it's on my list or not.
All right.
I got backups on my backup.
All right. And this is one actually I've not read for quite a while, but it had a big impact in my life, and I read it at a fairly young age, and it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that is by, and I'm gapping out, but I've got the book.
Covey.
Yeah, Stephen Covey. Yes. It's a very actionable book. The habits, and it's, it's a simple book as well, simple to implement. And it really had a big effect on me when I read that book. And I was in my early 20s, probably, when I read that book. Loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great one. I wouldn't put this necessarily on my list, but in that same sort of category is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Classic personal development book. I love it, but I'm not choosing that as something from my list. So where are we at here? We at 7?
7.
Okay. I'm at 7, or you did 7?
I did 7. I started first.
All right. So number 8. All right. So I got to think about this one for a second, which one I want to choose. Do I want to go old school, or I'm gonna move off of business entrepreneurship, and I'm gonna drop the 4 Agreements. By
wow.
Don Miguel.
That is not on my list, and absolutely
should have been. I thought you'd come in with that. I thought you'd come in with that one. Yeah, the 4 Agreements is look, again, the reason we're bringing these things up is if you haven't read these things, we would strongly encourage you to read them. The 4 Agreements, and I wish I had it memorized what they all are, but the be impeccable with your word. Oh, come on. I'm blanking on it too. He's going to pull them out here, but yeah, the four agreements, it's a spiritual journey in a sense, but it's also very practical in terms of its operational effect. And
yeah, it's really, I need more reading glasses. Hold on.
Well, while you're doing that, I've noticed a couple people.
I'll just read what they are. The 4 agreements: impeccable with your words. Don't take anything for personally.
Yeah.
Don't make assumptions. Man, we say that to each other all the time. And always do your best, right? And your best changes all the time. But if you're always doing your best, you're always doing your best. So
yeah,
that's great.
100%. Well, I want to comment on Margarita and Anna both chimed in here with several. The Biology of Belief that's huge. Again, kind of a heady book, but it really is about Bruce Lipton is like a, I don't know, what's the word, that is epigenetics is really what he is about, really how your mindset can actually shift your physical biology. It's an amazing book. There's a lot of great stuff. Like you got some classics on here, Margarita. You've got Who Moved My Cheese? That's a great one. Awaken the Giant Within. It's funny, of all the things that Tony Robbins has done, like that's the one that you decided to pull out. That's really cool, because that was kind of like his real launch into the stratosphere. I think that might've even been his first book. I don't even remember for sure. I love the old school stuff, The Magic of Thinking Big. And then Ann chimed in with Joe Dispenza, who I've just been all over him lately. I've been studying his stuff for years, but he's pretty amazing because he's just really cool and easy to listen to. And he's kind of really laid back for a super sciencey kind of guy. Wayne Dyer, also a great author, Power of Intention. That's a great one. And so lots of good stuff there.
Well, let's stay on our list here. And we're at number 9. I've got a couple different ways I can go, but I'm going to go to The Miracle Morning, which is The Miracle Morning kind of, it kind of turned my life around at a time where I really needed it. It allowed me to get into a morning routine so I could start to take control of my life. And I was kind of floundering around at the time. I didn't have structure to my days, and I didn't have a set routine that I went by. And when I started implementing a Miracle Morning, you know, Jeff and I, our business just went through the stratosphere, and it really had a huge impact in very, very recently, you know, and it's been phenomenal. So that's a great book, easy read, easy listen to. You know, the guy's got a great, unbelievable story. Yeah, unbelievable story. Should never have been
unimaginable story. Even really, it's beyond belief.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
so
I just want to comment on that too. And obviously that was on my list, but I figured it would be on yours. And since you were the one that introduced me to it, I mean, basically this is part of our story, is one of the reasons it's really close to the heart. Basically, Eric and I had been accountability partners before we were business partners for quite a while. And, you know, he just called me up in one of our accountability mornings and said, hey, you know, I think we have different memories of how this went down. But to me, it was like, hey, we're going to start this thing tomorrow. Like, we're going to do this thing tomorrow. And, you know, really, I think he just called and said, what do you think about, you know, starting this Miracle Morning process in the morning? And we did that. And, you know, we have since even, you know, framed our own versions of that. And, you know, it will undoubtedly become, you know, part of a really strong foundation for what we teach moving forward in a little bit of a different format. But yeah, great book. It really helps to get you dialed in. You're going to get more productivity out of your life in virtually every way by setting yourself up with a Miracle Morning. So I guess then number 10 is down to me, and I'm going to be somewhat self-serving on this one, but there's a reason for that. I'm going to choose a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles as my number one. This would be my number one in a top 10 list. The reason for that is that back in about 1999, when I was first thinking about what I wanted to do, a friend of mine turned me on to this book. It's just a short little book. It was about 56 pages, written by Wattles. Hardly anybody knows who Wattles was beyond this book, if you know who he is because of this book. But it was first published in 1910. So it was a predecessor to all the great stuff that we've talked about. Like, it was, you know, decades before all of that stuff. In my opinion, it was like the original law of attraction. I think it still is. And it also turned out, I read it and it hit me so hard in such a simple way that I decided to rewrite it and bring it up to date a little bit more for the 21st century, right at the turn of the 21st century. So I think it was 2001 that I rewrote the book, and by about 2002, and then by about 2003, I also did an audio version of it. And that ended up also being the very first product. I mean, I had a couple of other little things I did, but that was really the first product that I ever did under my brand, Mastermind Mentor. And I've sold tens of thousands of copies of this little, I used to do it as a combination. Like, I did it for $7. I sold the ebook. It was ebook, and then the upgrade to the audio book it was way before Audible. And I think, you know, $17 for the audio version of it back in the day. And that's how I started my joint venture partnerships with people. I got them to help me to promote it, to give them, you know, back an affiliate commission for it. It's how I built my list. It's how I built the entire foundation for my business. And I very recently was able to kind of reframe it a little bit and go jump through Audible's hoops of fire to get it in a place where they would accept it. And so now the book has also been my first release on Audible. It was been on Kindle for a while, but my first release on Audible. And that's just happened about, 3 weeks ago that it finally was released and published. But this is the most simplified way of understanding how the mechanics of the universe and coupled with your actions come together to create the life that you want. And the premise of it is that on this planet, while we're here in this, meat suit that we're walking around in, because of the structure of society, you need to have lots of money to experience lots of things. And the only way you can be your best self is to experience a lot of things. And just, again, because of the way society is structured, you have to, have money to do those things for most of them. So this is how to do what he considered to be the most important thing on planet Earth, which was to make money, not for money's sake, but because of the money being the transition to get you to everything else that you want in your life. So I'm going to say The Science of Getting Rich. And I still love the book. I actually just listened to my own version of it on Audible, just because it's on Audible and I had to hear the whole thing again. It's been a while since I actually listened to it. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with it. And that's my number one.
Yeah, well, it's the godfather of all of it, right? It's the book that came out that kind of invented the whole possibility. Like prior to 1910, I'm sure there's some people that had thoughts of it, but it wasn't a thought as a consciousness to be able to to be able to like get rich, right? I mean, like you think about it, back at that time frame, there was rich people and there was poor people, and the saying was, don't step outside of your upbringing, right? Know your place. If you're born poor, you stay poor. If you're born rich, you generally stayed rich. And there was a clear line, and it wasn't, prior to 1910, that's just the way it was. That's the way it was. And here we are 110 years later. And, and it's kind of like common, that's like a common thought, but this is the original. And so there's another book, I'm going to give honorable mention to a couple of other books as well. One is Psycho-Cybernetics is also a book that was back in the 60s that came out, that was kind of like a godfather of all of them. What's the book besides Think and Grow Rich is, my goodness, like the same era, Carnegie book.
The How to Win Friends?
How to Win Friends and Influence.
Yeah, I mentioned that before.
Yeah. So, but Jeff, go get Jeff's book. It's, one credit, or I think it's way less money than your typical.
Yeah, it's priced really low.
Yeah,
I put
$5.
If you're not on Audible, you can actually get the book for free on a free trial. So I just put a link in there. It's sogr.mastermindmentor.com, and that'll take you right to the free download page to have a free trial of Audible if you haven't tried it yet. And then Ann also put a link in here directly to the book if you are on Audible. There's one I want to, you said honorable mention, and I want to give another honorable mention because you grabbed the Compound Effect. I also want to give Darren Hardy another one that is The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. Yeah. And, that was a really big one. A really big one.
It's on my list here, right here. Not even an honorable mention, I guess, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So look, guys, the bottom line is you probably have your own list. Maybe you have some overlap here. Maybe you have some things that are completely different. Maybe you haven't read a book in a while, and we're just going to inspire you to pick up a book or to get on Audible and download a book to listen to or something. The point here wasn't to say we know what's best in the world of books. It was to share with you that this is one thing that we directly attribute to being able to consistently move through this crazy journey called life and entrepreneurship, and do so without, getting, when you get kicked into the ditch without, laying there in the ditch, it's been a never-ending source of new ideas, new inspirations, creativity, prosperity. I attribute any success that I've had in my life to this long series of constantly re-educating, retooling, and learning from people who know more than me, and learning from people who I didn't think knew as much as me. It's always about a different perspective.
Well, and you may have read or listened to all of these books, but you know what? Go back and reread, go back, re-listen, because you'll have a different experience. You'll pick up things you didn't pick up the first time. You have a new perspective. Your perspective is always changing as you're moving through your life. And I want to go back to the Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster, because before reading that book, like it helps you be comfortable with the ride of being an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
Just accepting the fact that, look, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody, right? If you want consistency, if you want stability, if you want the same paycheck every week, you know, and that's super important to you, you want stability, being an entrepreneur might not be the right ride for you. Because being an entrepreneur is like being on a roller coaster. There's highs and lows, thrillingly exciting, sometimes utterly terrifying.
Right?
And on the same ride, right? On the same ride, right?
Exactly. Sometimes on the same freaking day.
Yeah. So, and it's, but if if you read this book, Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, you're going to know that this is either for me or this is not for me, right? You're going to know. I mean, you're going to read it and you're going to say, yeah, that's me. I'm in. I want to do that, you know, or you're going to say, no, not for me.
No,
Not going to do it. Yeah.
However, just a little tag on to that if you think that JOB is security, you may want to rethink that too, because because of entrepreneurs, the world changes really, really quickly. And that means that the job environment also changes really quickly. But that's a topic for a whole other training. So we're probably not going to go down that path today. And we're a little bit over time, but we wanted, we felt like this was a really important topic. We haven't gone back to specific books and things like that for quite a while. And we just really wanted to bring the power of absorbing other people's knowledge into your world. Once again, kind of circle back and talk about how important that is. So whatever you do today, pick up a book or pick up an Audible, listen to something, and share with us along the way what that is, because, we're always open as well. We don't feel like we certainly don't have the corner of the market on what's the best stuff out there. We always get turned on to new stuff all the time.
Yeah, and if you guys help us out, man, we're always looking for new stuff. So if you're watching the recording of this, either on Facebook or on YouTube or wherever we've got it posted, I'm sure there's a spot where you can enter a comment. Go ahead and make a comment and tell us what books that you love and that you think have made a big difference in your life. Everything we've talked about here is all nonfiction, but there's a lot of fiction books that could definitely have made the list as well.
For sure.
Just a couple that The Greatest Salesman in the World is one that's written. The Alchemist. My gosh, those are both parable stories that are great books and had as much impact on me as anything.
Sure.
So anyways, let us know, man. Enter in the comments. You know,
give us your top 10 list. I mean, if you're an avid reader, give us your top 10 list. Drop it right in the comments. So anyway, for now, we're going to just say thank you for being here. Whether you're here live, whether you're on the recording, we had a really nice turnout on the live today. It was great. Appreciate you. Go out and crush it on Finish Strong Friday, #FSF. Have a great weekend, and we will see you again, same bat time, same bat channel next week.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.